The story focuses on the mysterious death of Google executive Forrest Hayes at Santa Cruz Marina. Hayes, 51 years old, lived in an affluent neighborhood in a $3 million house, indicating his high status and wealth. In 2013, Hayes owned a 46-foot-long yacht named Escape, docked in Santa Cruz Harbor. The boat was equipped with about $200,000 worth of high-tech gear, including a sophisticated security system with high-definition cameras. The interior was luxurious, featuring a leather ceiling and an $8,000 captain's chair. Michael Daly, an investigative reporter for the Daily Beast and 48 Hours consultant, described Hayes as both practical and imaginative. Hayes began his career at Ford Motor Company in Michigan, then moved to California to work for Sun Microsystems and Apple before joining Google. At Google, Hayes worked in the top-secret Google X division, known as their Moonshot Factory. This division focused on developing extreme, wildly imaginative ideas like Google Glasses and self-driving cars. Hayes was responsible for making some of these ideas a reality, though the exact nature of his work remained confidential. To escape the pressures of his job, Hayes would often retreat to his yacht at the marina. The story sets up the contrast between Hayes' high-powered tech career and his private life, hinting at the mysterious circumstances surrounding his death on his prized yacht. Forrest Hayes' yacht, Escape, was noted as one of the larger boats in Santa Cruz Harbor. Police later discovered that Hayes, a married father of 5, had a secret liaison with a young, exotic, dark-haired woman covered in distinctive tattoos. This woman would be the last person to see Hayes alive. On November 22, 2013, Hayes was on his yacht and didn't return home that night. His wife, concerned, called the yacht's captain, who went to check on Hayes. The captain found Hayes' body in the main cabin and immediately called 911. Surprisingly, it took months before Hayes' death made headlines. Santa Cruz Deputy Police Chief Steve Clark explained that they were keeping the investigation under wraps while building the case. At the crime scene, investigators found 2 used wine glasses. They then conducted an exhaustive digital search of Hayes' cell phone, leading to a stunning discovery. Hayes had a profile on a dating website called SeekingArrangement.com. This would prove to be a crucial clue in identifying the mystery tattooed woman. The story sets up the mysterious circumstances of Hayes' death, introducing the unknown woman and the unexpected revelation about Hayes' online dating activity, which would become central to the investigation. In late November 2013, just before Thanksgiving, a crucial event was recorded by cameras on Forrest Hayes' boat. One camera captured the final moments of Hayes' life in detail. Initially, police were told that the video from the cabin camera wasn't available. However, they later discovered it had been uploaded to a cloud server. It took 3 months and a court order for detectives to access this video, which proved to be explosive evidence. The video showed Hayes meeting with a woman on the boat. They greeted each other with a quick hug and engaged in conversation. The woman then prepared drugs, specifically heroin, for injection. She appeared to inject herself first, then Hayes. Shortly after the injection, Hayes went into distress. The woman attempted to revive him by patting his face and talking to him as he slumped in the chair. However, instead of calling for help, she began removing evidence of her presence, wiping fingerprints and cleaning up drug paraphernalia while Hayes was on the floor. For 7 critical minutes, the video showed the woman walking around the cabin, stepping over Hayes' body, and even carrying her wine glass. Police emphasized that during this time, emergency medical personnel could have potentially saved Hayes' life. Using the video evidence, police were able to match the woman, who had distinctive tattoos, to a profile on the dating website Hayes had used. She was identified as Alex Tickleman, a 26-year-old aspiring model. This part of the story reveals the crucial video evidence, detailing the events leading to Hayes' death and introducing Alex Tickleman as a key figure in the case. Forrest Hayes, the wealthy Google executive, met Alex Tickleman, the exotic model, through a somewhat secretive online world where real names are rarely used. Although they technically met in Las Vegas, it wasn't at a casino or hotel bar, but through an online website headquartered near the Las Vegas Strip. This website, SeekingArrangement.com, is not a typical dating site. Brandon Wade, the CEO of Seeking Arrangement, started the site in 2006 from a bedroom in San Francisco. Despite its humble beginnings, the site has grown to nearly 4 million members worldwide, making it a significant business. Wade, 43 years old at the time, describes Seeking Arrangement as a sugar daddy dating website, matching wealthy individuals with younger men and women looking to meet them. He claims to have become a multi-millionaire from this venture. When asked if seeking arrangement is about arranging sexual relationships for money, Wade denies this, stating it's about finding romance and passion. He acknowledges that both sex and money are involved in romantic relationships, but argues this doesn't make it prostitution. This part of the story introduces the website through which Hayes and Tickleman met, providing context about its nature and purpose, as well as insights from its founder. It sets up the unconventional backdrop against which the relationship between Hayes and Tickleman developed. Deputy Police Chief Steve Clark, who was leading the investigation into Hayes' death, strongly disagreed with Wade's characterization of seeking arrangement. Clark argued that the website's use of terms like sugar babies and sugar daddies clearly indicated its true nature. When examining the website with Wade, Maureen Mayer asked about the budget section, which Wade explained refers to the lifestyle spending such as dinners and trips. He confirmed that a sugar baby might expect a sugar daddy to spend around $3,000 on the relationship. Wade proudly stated that his website's membership includes employees from leading Fortune 500 companies, including Google. He described Forrest Hayes as an average client, a married tech executive looking for an arrangement. Wade revealed that 40% of the male users on the site are married. It was unclear whether Hayes was fulfilling any sugar baby's lifestyle requests, which can range from $1,000 to over $10,000 in monthly gifts from sugar daddies. When asked about Alex Tickleman's profile on seeking arrangement, Wade didn't provide specific details. This part of the story delves deeper into the nature of seeking arrangement, contrasting the views of law enforcement with those of the website's founder. It also provides context for Hayes' involvement with the site and hints at the potential financial aspects of these arrangements. Brandon Wade, CEO of Seeking Arrangement, stated that Alex Tickleman's profile on the site appeared normal and didn't indicate she was soliciting money for sex. After Hayes' death, investigators tracked Tickleman on social media. When she posted about plans to return to Georgia, they decided to act quickly. They set up a sting operation using Seeking Arrangement, fearing she might leave the area. Deputy Police Chief Steve Clark explained that they created a fake profile for a detective under the code name Sebastian. This undercover detective began communicating with Tickleman through the website, aiming to arrange a meeting. The police convinced Tickleman to come to Santa Cruz for an arranged sexual encounter in exchange for money. They deposited several $100s into her account, promising at least $1,000 upon arrival. During the negotiations, Tickleman's responses suggested to the police that this wasn't her first such arrangement. Clark noted that she even called them cheapskates, stating that many of her clients paid twice the amount offered. 8 months after Forrest Hayes' death, Tickleman returned to Santa Cruz County, arriving at a secluded resort. She came expecting to meet a new sugar daddy from Seeking Arrangement, bringing heroin in her bag. However, the situation was about to unfold very differently from what she anticipated. This part of the story details the police sting operation to catch Tickleman, highlighting her apparent familiarity with such arrangements and setting the stage for her arrest. When police revealed their true identity to Alex Tickleman, she reacted with panic and tears. The 26-year-old was arrested for prostitution and charged in connection with Forrest Hayes' death. Deputy Police Chief Steve Clark insisted this was a crime, not just an accident gone wrong. Chad Cornell, Tickleman's boyfriend at the time, was shocked by her arrest. He described her as beautiful with a darker style, comparing her to Angelina Jolie. Cornell believed they were in love and thought Tickleman was a model, often going to photo shoots that paid around $1,000 each time. Cornell learned about Tickleman's arrest through a text message with a news link, which left him devastated. He was stunned to discover that the woman he thought he might spend his life with was charged with prostitution and involved in Hayes' death. Surprisingly, Cornell realized he had been with Tickleman just hours before her fateful meeting with Hayes. She had told him she was going to hang out with high school friends on a boat. Later that night, she called Cornell sounding frantic and upset. This part of the story introduces Tickleman's personal life through her boyfriend's perspective, highlighting the contrast between his perception of her and the charges she faced. It also reveals that Tickleman had contact with Cornell shortly before and after her encounter with Hayes, adding another layer to the complex narrative. Chad Cornell recounted that during their late-night phone call, Alex Tickleman told him she had left the boat because her friends started using heroin and other hard drugs, making her uncomfortable. Cornell described her as genuinely upset, crying and sniffling. This revelation left Cornell questioning whether he ever truly knew Alex. Michael Daly, a reporter, investigated Tickleman's online presence, as the police had done. He found her Twitter account under the handle ADDICT, which Tickleman described herself as baddest bitch, model, stylist, hustler, exotic dancer. The account included various provocative photos, including one showing a tattoo reading, "To death do us part." However, Daly also found posts that seemed to contradict this edgy image. For instance, there was a tweet with a photo of Tickleman and her mother smiling together at lunch, captioned, "My beautiful mother and I out for lunch, no makeup face." Daly interpreted this as showing a young woman who wanted to be with her mom, suggesting a more complex personality than her online persona might indicate. This part of the story delves deeper into Tickleman's character, contrasting her boyfriend's perception of her, her curated online image, and glimpses of a more ordinary life, adding layers to the narrative about who Alex Tickleman really was. Michael Daly noted that Tickleman posted the photo with her mother just months before her arrest for Forrest Hayes' death, suggesting there was a fuller story to her life. Childhood photos of Tickleman showed a blonde tomboy who seemed to have a privileged upbringing. She grew up with her sister Monica, who became an investment counselor, her mother Leslie Ann, and her father Bart, a CEO of a technology company and successful poker player who once won $400,000 in a high-stakes game. Tickleman spent her early teens in an Atlanta suburb, where she played sports and won writing awards. Friends described her as very smart and deep. However, she was also troubled, experiencing difficulties with boys, eating disorders, and drug use. Her parents, desperate to help her, sent her to the Hyde School in Maine, hoping it would provide special attention. Megan, another former student at Hyde School, agreed to revisit the campus with 48 hours, though she requested her last name not be used. Megan expressed nervousness about returning to the school, indicating it might have been a challenging experience. This part of the story provides background on Tickleman's upbringing and early life, contrasting her seemingly privileged background with her personal struggles. It also introduces the Hyde School as a turning point in her life, setting up for further exploration of this period. Megan explained that she wanted to revisit the Hyde School to shed light on a pivotal part of Alex Tickleman's life, which she believed greatly affected Tickleman's development. Megan vividly recalled her first encounter with Tickleman at the school, describing her as gorgeous but awkward. She noted that Tickleman was very thin, barely ate, and seemed emotionally closed off. This image contrasted sharply with the cute blonde girl next door Tickleman had been earlier in her life. When asked about the reasons for Tickleman's state, Megan couldn't point to a specific catalyst, but mentioned that they had discussed issues with trusting men and feeling numb to many things. It was revealed that Tickleman had begun self-harming. A photo in her bunkmate's scrapbook showed cuts on Tickleman's arm, with captions like "Psycho Roomie." Ashley Kent, another student who lived in Tickleman's dorm, described Tickleman as the first person she met who self-harmed. Kent noted that Tickleman had arrived at the school with scars and had cultivated an image of herself as a devil person, dressing like a devil worshipper. However, both Kent and Megan suggested that this dark image was largely a front. Kent described Tickleman as actually being a nice girl beneath the facade. This part of the story delves into Tickleman's time at the Hyde School, revealing her struggles with self-image, self-harm, and emotional issues. It also introduces the idea that her dark persona might have been a protective front, adding complexity to understanding her character. Megan described Alex Tickleman as a normal, scared girl beneath her tough exterior. She believed Tickleman was primarily afraid of herself, as they were both struggling with their identities and had made troubling choices. At Hyde School, Tickleman was frequently in trouble. Megan recalled that punishment involved manual labor, such as building a dirt road on campus. They were forced to hoe, weed, and cart heavy wheelbarrows of rocks. Ashley Kent remembered a disturbing incident where Tickleman was found screaming and cutting herself late at night in the dormitory halls. Megan suggested that Tickleman hurt herself because she felt she deserved it. When Hyde School didn't work out, Tickleman's parents tried other schools. However, her struggles continued. Michael Daly mentioned that Tickleman had talked about using heroin in her teens. By her early 20s, Tickleman was living in San Francisco, working in strip clubs like Larry Flint's Hustler and the Condor. Eventually, she returned to Atlanta, where her life would take a significant turn. This part of the story continues to explore Tickleman's troubled youth, her experiences at Hyde School, and her descent into drug use and exotic dancing. It sets the stage for the next phase of her life back in Atlanta, hinting at more dramatic events to come. Alex Tickleman's life took a positive turn when she met Dean Ryopel in Atlanta. Despite their significant age difference, Ryopel was deeply in love with Tickleman and wanted to marry her, leading Michael Daly to speculate about a potential happy ending. However, in September 2013, 2 months before Forrest Hayes' death, Riopelle died with heroin in his system. A 911 call revealed Tickleman reporting that her boyfriend was unresponsive and possibly overdosed. Riopelle, 53, was the owner of The Masquerade, a popular Atlanta concert venue. He was also known as a former cross-dressing singer for the rock band Impotent Sea Snakes. Tickleman called 911 after reportedly finding Riopelle unconscious in his North Atlanta home. The similarities between this incident and Hayes' death caught the attention of Santa Cruz Deputy Police Chief Steve Clark. As a result of Tickleman's arrest in Santa Cruz for Hayes' death, police in Milton, Georgia, decided to reinvestigate Riopelle's death. What was initially ruled an accidental overdose was now being considered as a potential criminal case. This part of the story introduces another tragic event in Tickleman's life, highlighting the similarities between Riopelle's and Hayes' deaths, and suggesting a possible pattern of behavior that led to renewed interest from law enforcement in Riopelle's case. Christina Brooker, a former employee of Dean Riopelle, believed Alex Tickleman was responsible for Riopelle's death. Brooker had lived in Riopelle's house in 2012, caring for his children and his collection of monkeys, which Riopelle dreamed of turning into a zoo. Brooker described Riopelle as deeply in love with Tickleman, wanting to marry her. However, she noted that Riopelle didn't share Tickleman's drug habits. Brooker claimed she never saw Riopelle drink, smoke, or do drugs, and was sure he would never inject himself with heroin. Contrasting this view, Todd, an Atlanta businessman and friend of Tickleman, defended her. He dismissed the idea that Tickleman was randomly injecting people with heroin as preposterous. Todd claimed that Riopelle did drink heavily and that the couple was deeply in love. According to Todd, Riopelle was trying to help Tickleman overcome her heroin addiction, sending her to rehab, and even buying her an engagement ring. Todd showed a text from Riopelle dated August 30th, 2013, mentioning his plans to get Tickleman a wedding ring. Todd emphasized that Tickleman was devastated after Riopelle's death and believed that if Riopelle were alive, he would be the first to bail her out of jail and would be mortified at how people were treating her. This part of the story presents conflicting accounts of Riopelle and Tickleman's relationship, their habits, and the circumstances surrounding Riopelle's death, adding complexity to the narrative and raising questions about what really happened. Just 3 weeks before Dean Riopelle's overdose, he had plans to marry Alex Tickleman if she could stay clean for 14 months. Todd shared exclusive text messages with 48 Hours, revealing Riopelle's intentions and Tickleman's struggles with addiction. On September 7, 2013, Riopelle discovered Tickleman was advertising herself online to men. This revelation deeply upset him, but he didn't kick her out. Instead, Todd believes Riopelle started drinking heavily. 10 days later, on September 17th, Riopelle suffered a fatal overdose. Tickleman told police she found him on the floor after hearing a crash. An autopsy revealed a mix of heroin, painkillers, and alcohol in his system. Todd speculates that Riopelle may have tried heroin to connect with Tickleman on a deeper level. After Riopelle's death, Tickleman texted Todd about her grief and her mother's plan to move her to California. She expressed worry about being close to San Francisco's drug markets. Around October 30th, 2013, Tickleman arrived in California and immediately resumed advertising herself online. She texted Todd about the mad money guys had there. On November 2nd, Tickleman texted Todd about an amazing guy who was going to pay her $400 $500 cash for a few hours on his boat, plus a $2,000 check. Todd believes this man was likely Forrest Hayes. This part of the story provides context for the events leading up to Hayes' death, showing Tickleman's continued struggles with addiction and her quick return to escort work after moving to California. On May 19, 2015, Alex Tickleman appeared in court to set a trial date. She had been in jail for almost a year, facing up to 20 years for charges related to Forrest Hayes' death, drug possession, and prostitution. Her public defenders, Jerry Christensen and Larry Bigham, maintained that Hayes' death was an accident, with both adults engaging in consensual drug use. They argued that Hayes was an active participant and that Tickleman panicked after his collapse. In a surprising turn, Tickleman pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter. She apologized to the Hayes family through her lawyer, calling the incident an accident and panic. She was sentenced to 6 years in jail, but was likely to serve just over 2 years due to time served and a reduction by the judge. After the hearing, prosecutor Rafael Vasquez revealed that Hayes' family never wanted charges filed against Tickleman. They were afraid of the case going to trial and the video from Hayes' boat becoming public, fearing further pain and humiliation. Vasquez also stated that Tickleman was never the cold-blooded killer portrayed by law enforcement. He agreed with the defense that she was not callous when Hayes collapsed, contradicting earlier characterizations of her actions. This part of the story reveals significant developments in the legal proceedings, including Tickleman's plea, the Hayes family's wishes, and a shift in how her actions were perceived by the prosecution. Prosecutor Rafael Vasquez elaborated on Tickleman's actions after Hayes collapsed, describing her attempts to revive him by hitting his chest, smacking his face, trying to lift him, hugging him, and yelling for him to wake up. Vasquez stated that this behavior was inconsistent with someone intending to kill, showing instead that she appeared concerned. However, Vasquez maintained that Tickleman was guilty of not doing enough to help Hayes. He criticized her for failing to render aid, destroying evidence, and fleeing the scene while leaving Hayes to die. One of Tickleman's attorneys, Athena Race, reported that Tickleman's time in jail had been beneficial, helping her become clean and sober, improve her relationship with her family, and reflect on her actions. For the Hayes family, the case's conclusion offered a chance to move past the scrutiny, ridicule, and scorn generated by the media attention. Vasquez acknowledged the significant emotional toll the case had taken on the family. The story concluded with two important notes. 1. Alex Tickleman was scheduled to be released from jail in June 2017 at the age of 29. 2. The case involving Dean Riopelli's death remained open and under investigation. This final part of the story provides closure on the legal proceedings, offers insight into Tickleman's rehabilitation, acknowledges the impact on the Hayes family, and leaves open the possibility of further developments in the Riopelle case.